Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dangers and Dragons podcast.
Yeah.
You know how it is, your daily dose of addictive stories, epic quests, crazy tales, legendary adventures.
All with unexpected twists and turns, of course.
You know it. I'm Adrian,
I'm Julia.
and we're so glad you're here, ready to dive into another incredible story.
Always.
Today we're journeying to a world ravaged by these two immortal warriors, Kai and Irya.
Oh, this one's a good one. I was hooked from the very first line.
Me too. They're locked in this epic duel, and it's literally tearing the world apart.
And not in like a metaphorical way. The earth is actually groaning under the weight of their blows.
Right. I was struck by that imagery too. It's not just a personal fight. It's affecting everything around them.
Absolutely. And right away you get this sense of the weight of their immortality.
Like the sheer exhaustion of a fight that's raged for who knows how long.
Exactly. Irya, she's empowered by the storm god, so she's striking with incredible force, taunting Kai with every blow.
Almost like she's drunk on power, convinced she's the chosen one.
Oh, yeah, totally. The story describes her laughter as, like, this harsh, triumphant bark.
Wow, that's a great detail.
It just paints such a vivid picture of her arrogance, you know?
Absolutely. But on the other hand, you've got Kai spitting out blood but still refusing to yield.
He's definitely the underdog in this fight.
But what struck me is how he points out that their conflict is causing the Earth Mother to bleed.
Right, like he sees the bigger picture, he recognizes the suffering their actions are causing.
Whereas Irya seems totally fixated on winning no matter the cost.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, were they always like this? You know, so obsessed with power and victory?
That's a great question. Were they always like this?
Oh, that's where the backstory gets really interesting. They weren't always enemies. They were actually, get this, siblings in arms.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, totally united in their purpose, protecting the world together. Until, well, the gods got involved.
I think gods. Always got to stir the pot, right?
Right. Those meddling deities. They saw an opportunity for a little amusement, I guess.
So you're saying the gods are the ones who drove them apart?
Exactly. They started whispering promises of power, dominion, you name it, exploiting their pride and ambition, basically turning these heroes against each other.
Just to watch the world burn.
It's heartbreaking, really. They went from protecting the world to becoming instruments of its destruction.
All because of some, what, divine game.
It's messed up, right? And the story really emphasizes how it's the mortals who pay the price for the gods' amusement.
So their rivalry escalated, the world became a battleground.
Villages burned, not for conquest or anything, but just as markers of their endless stalemate.
Wow. So we've got this epic duel, a shattered world, and two immortal warriors trapped in a conflict they can't win. Where does it go from here? What happens next?
Well, that's where things take an intriguing turn. The duel reaches this turning point when Irya hesitates before delivering what should be the final blow.
Really, after all that, she hesitates.
Yeah, it's just this tiny flicker of doubt, you know? A hint of the person she was before the god's influence twisted her.
You know, that really makes you wonder what's going through her mind at that point. Is it guilt? Remorse? Or maybe a sliver of the person she used to be?
That's a fantastic question, and it leads us right into the next part of the story where we see the consequences of that hesitation. It's like a tiny crack in her armor, you know, like a glimpse of the Irya that existed before.
Yeah.
Well, she strikes Kai's heart, and instead of the victory she was so sure of, something strange happens.
What happens? Does he die?
Well, he feels death, you know, the cold grip of death, but then because of his gift, he heals instantly.
I can't even imagine what that would be like to feel death only to snap back to life like that.
It's a turning point for both of them, you know.
Okay.
For Irya, she's horrified by what she almost did, and for Kai, it's a brutal reminder of their unnatural existence.
So they're both starting to see the truth that they're not these chosen champions, but just pawns in this cosmic game.
Right, and that's where the story shifts. It's not just about their personal struggles anymore. It's about how the world itself is reacting to their actions.
Oh, interesting.
The mountainside where they're fighting is described as like blooming with these jagged, thorny vines. It's like the earth itself is mirroring their pain and anger.
Wow. That's powerful imagery. It's like the landscape is reflecting their inner turmoil.
Exactly. It's like, you know, everything's connected. It's not just about these two warriors. It's about the balance of the world and how they've disrupted it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about Irya? I mean, she had that moment of hesitation, but she's still under the storm god's influence, right?
Right. And that's what makes her next move so fascinating. Despite all the despair and destruction, she comes up with a plan.
Okay. A plan. What kind of plan?
It's this desperate but ingenious way to fight back. She realizes that the power that binds them, their immortality, could be the key to breaking free from the gods.
Oh, wow. So she
Mhm.
wants to use their powers against the gods themselves.
Exactly. But she can't do it alone. The story describes this incredible moment where they clasp hands, no longer as enemies, but as comrades united against this common enemy.
I love that. It's like they finally realize their true battle isn't with each other.
Exactly. It's with the forces manipulating them.
I'm on the edge of my seat here. What happens next?
Yeah.
Do they actually manage to break free?
The climax is breathtaking. They become conduits for this immense power, this raw cosmic energy, and the world starts to crack under the strain of divine wills colliding.
Whoa, I was expecting some epic explosion, a final showdown with the gods.
Right, everyone expects that. But the resolution is much more subtle. Instead of a roar, there's a sigh. The divine influence fades, and there's just this sense of weary peace. The jagged plants wither, the sky clears, and the earth settles.
It's like the world itself is exhaling, releasing all that tension. It's beautiful how the story uses these natural images to mirror what's happening.
It's a powerful contrast to the chaos that came before, and it speaks to the resilience of the world, Even after a devastation, there's a chance for healing and renewal.
You know that image of the world exhaling like it could finally breathe again? That really stayed with me. It's a beautiful ending. But it also makes me wonder what happened to Kai and Irya. Did they survive that clash of divine wills?
That's the thing about this ending. It's open to interpretation. We know the god's influence is gone and the world's healing, but the fate of our two warriors is left for us to think about.
So they could be dead. Or maybe they were freed from their immortality,
Yeah.
allowed to live and die like normal mortals.
Exactly. This story doesn't give us a definitive answer, which I think makes it even more powerful.
What do you think happened?
Honestly, I go back and forth. Part of me hopes they found peace somehow.
Yeah, I'd like to believe they were freed. It would be a fitting reward for their courage. Standing up to the gods, even if it meant sacrificing themselves.
I think that fits with the whole theme of balance being restored. Maybe for them, balance meant finding peace in mortality.
But even if they didn't survive, their sacrifice wasn't in vain. They broke free from the gods' control. They stopped the destruction. And they gave the world a chance to heal.
Absolutely. Their story really highlights the power of choice, even when facing impossible odds. They chose to use their gifts for something greater than themselves.
They defied the gods, risked everything for the greater good.
And it makes you wonder, what would we do if we were faced with a gift like immortality? Especially if it brought only suffering.
Right. Would we have the courage to defy the gods, to risk it all for the world?
It's a question worth thinking about. It challenges us to examine our own values, our own limits.
What will we be willing to sacrifice?
It's been another captivating story, full of epic battles, divine meddling, and a powerful message of hope.
Big thanks to you for helping us break it all down.
Always a pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this adventure. Don't forget to rate and follow the Dangers and Dragons podcast for your daily dose of epic adventures. Until next time, may your quests be filled with wonder and your dragons be friendly.